to the Token and Hobbs Show on the Roads to Liberty Network.
What is up, everybody? It's another exciting episode of the Token and Hobbs Show on the Roads to Liberty Network. We are live on a Tuesday night, and we are ready to rock and roll. Of course, I am your host, Mr. Token, and I am joined with my good friend in crime, Mr. Dustin Hobbs, and our silent producer for the evening is A1 Ben Backus, who is going to be running the... Geez, someone has
Yeah, that's me. Hang on.
That is you, buddy. How could you be doing this? You betrayed me.
My phone case broke, so the buttons are kind of stiff, and I'm sitting there trying to turn it down.
Oh man, you ruined my opening monologue.
Sorry. Have a puppy.
A puppy. Oh, look at that cute guy. I'm just holding up a puppy, everybody, and he's absolutely adorable. So that's pretty cool. All right, well, welcome everybody. Nothing is in the news today that we need to report on. It's going to be a boring show because absolutely nothing has happened this week. It's an amazing thing. Oh, if only that were true. Oh my God. So, first of all, how are you, Hobbs? I haven't talked to you in a minute.
Well, my voice is a little bit scratchy today, but I'll try and do my normal intro. It's Tuesday! Time for another glorious episode of the Token and Hobbs Show.
Token and Hobbs Tuesday. I like the sound of that. It has a nice ring to it. Some alliteration going on there. Ready to talk liberty and Donald Trump and Nancy Pelosi. And I don't think we're going to get to the climate change stuff because that's just don't care.
Fucking clown show.
It's been a whole fucking clown show all week. So I'll talk a little bit about that. So apparently some 16-year-old Swedish girl sailed across the ocean for the honor of speaking to our Congress.
And the United Nations. I think that the United Nations thing came first, and the Congress was just kind of while she's here, might as well.
Why would you want to talk before that group of slime and villainy? Like, my dream, both. I'm going to go talk to the U.S. Congress and the United Nations. Ooh. You can pay me to do that shit. I'd get it. Well, at least she got up there and chastised them. It was for stupid reasons, but she did it. You know what the best part of that whole crazy sequence event was? Do you remember seeing that video where she's in the building and Donald Trump just walks on in and she's fucking staring daggers at him? Like, if looks could kill, she would have fucking massacred the president right then and there. She was so pissed.
Right.
Staring daggers at the man. It was, I don't know, man. I found it funny. Here's the thing. I don't like it when people trot out youngsters to try to win sympathy points. I hate that shit. All right? It's very annoying. That's the only reason she's there is because she's 16. It's not because she's an expert or anything.
No.
The only reason she's there is because she's 16 years old and she's fiery and has Asperger's. Yeah, there's the look.
Yeah.
There's the look right there.
I'm sitting there looking at it, like, does she have like a fucking everlasting gobstopper in her cheek or something? It looks like
it's her tongue. She's sticking her tongue in her cheek to keep herself from sticking it out at the president.
Yeah, I guess.
I don't know, man. So that was funny. And all of that was followed up by the clown show today, which is the Democrats decided to go forward with impeachment inquiries against President Trump. They finally did it, man. They finally did it. It's happening. It's happening.
It's not happening.
Well, something's happening.
Something's happening, and you know what? I'm actually kind of glad that they're willing to push forward with this, because once the impeachment proceedings begin, it's kind of like a grand jury, and they're going to have, the evidence is going to get laid out, and it's going to be the discovery process, and they're going to figure out why all of this is happening. It's going to come back, just like everything that they try to do against Teflon Don Trump is just going to come and bounce and stick back onto them, because this entire thing is nothing more than projection. I mean, literally, it's like Trump called up the current Ukrainian president and said, hey, looks like your predecessor and my predecessor were up to some shady dealings. Would you mind looking into it on your end? That was it. And they're making this out to be like Trump is colluding with a foreign government to take down his number one contender, Joe Biden. And it's like, there's video of Joe Biden in front of the CFR bragging about how he got this chief prosecutor in the Ukraine fired by threatening to withhold like $8 billion in military aid or something, because the prosecutor was looking into his son's shady dealings. And when all of that comes, popping out, it's going to be like, oh, who was really colluding with foreign government?
So I'm going to read you a little bit, and this is from CBS News. Here's a quote from Nancy Pelosi. She goes, "This week, the president has admitted to asking the president of Ukraine to take action which would benefit him politically. The actions of the Trump presidency reveal dishonorable facts of the president's betrayal of his oath of office, betrayal of national security, and betrayal of integrity of our elections. In August, an anonymous member of the intelligence community filed a whistleblower complaint with the intelligence community inspector general, who determined it constituted an urgent concern requiring congressional notification under federal law. However, that consulting with the Justice Department and White House, the acting director of national intelligence came to a different conclusion and has refused to provide the complaint to congressional committees. Pelosi said the administration's refusal to provide the complaint is a violation of the law and undermines both our national security and our intelligence. Mr. Trump, who is in New York for the opening of the United Nations General Assembly, reacted angrily to Pelosi's statement, calling it a total witch hunt earlier in the day. He said he would release the transcript of the call with the Ukrainian president that is part of the whistleblower complaint. Now, see, I don't know if there's smoke to this fire, but let's go back and rely for a bit upon the pattern that the mainstream media has set here. In the last month, they accused President Trump of compromising a spy in Russia, which turned out to be false news. This was followed up almost immediately after by the accusation against Brett Kavanaugh, Donald Trump's, the guy that Donald Trump put on the Supreme Court, accusations that he sexual accusations that he had put his private parts in the hands of a woman who denies this incident ever happening. The New York Times failed to mention that when they first published their article. And there are examples going all the way back before the election of Donald Trump of the media outright, if not outright fabricating stories, at the very least rushing to get stories out there that they did not take the time to vet and prove to be completely false. So based on all that, I think it would behoove people to realize something. Stories like this rarely turn out the way that Democrats want them to.
Right.
Be it the Spygate, the P-Gate, the Russian probe, the Mueller report, the Kavanaugh accusations. Things rarely go the way Democrats want them to. And they always rush to conclusions before the facts are in. So for everybody ready for the impeachment battle, wait a minute. Just wait. Because something is telling me, I've got a little funny feeling that this is going to be like all the rest of all the rest of the hit pieces against Donald Trump that we've seen over the last 4 years. We'll see. Maybe this is the real thing this time. Maybe. Who am I to say? I do not have access to this whistleblower complaint. I'm not in the Justice Department. I'm not in the Congressional Intelligence Committees. I don't have access to any of that stuff. I'm just a dude from Nebraska. All right? But I am going to wait to see what comes of this before I jump to any sorts of conclusions, because people who don't do that end up burned.
Right. This is wait 24 to 72 hours anytime a story comes out like this. Like, oh, we got him now. We got him now. It's like, no, you wait 24 to 72 hours, and 9 times out of, well, actually 100% of the time up until this point it's been like, okay, yeah, it's all been overblown. It's all been bullshit. So I think this is just going to be another one of those ones where the evidence is going to come back to blow up in their face more than Trump's, and they're going to bury it. And their fellow travelers in the fake news industrial complex are going to carry their water for them and help them bury it. But thank God for the internet, right?
Yeah, thank God for that. I mean, here's the thing. Here's the thing about because like I said, they get burned every time for stuff like this. It happens every time. It blows up in their faces, and they look like fools. All right, this is a classic example of the media that cried wolf. All right, fool me once, shame on me. Fool me a million times, I call you fake news.
Yep.
All right. I don't know if this is fake news, but the very fact that the same people who've been proven wrong again and again and again are making these accusations again, it makes me a little hesitant to jump on board the impeachment bandwagon, because we've been hearing impeachment for years.
Right.
All right. And here's the thing about this. All right, let's just look at this from a purely political lens. Do the Democrats actually think this is going to help them? Do they think that their chances of electing a Democrat to president go up because they're impeaching Donald Trump?
No, I think this is just firing up the far left base, and it's also going to, maybe light a fire under the not far left, but also not very well informed base, and maybe some of the left-leaning fence sitters that just don't follow the news like you and I do.
No, see, I think this is going to blow up in their faces, quite honestly. If there is nothing here, now, if there is some truth to whatever this accusation is.
Yeah, I agree that it's going to blow up in their face too, but what I said there was what I think that they think is going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, if it turns out to be nothing, like everything else they tried to throw at them, they're going to look even more foolish than they did before. They drag us through a 3-year Russian investigation that turned out to be a big, fat nothing burger. Don't expect me to forget that anytime soon.
Right.
All right. They dragged us through 3 years of that. We're finally done with it. And now this pops up. All this is going to do is rally Trump's base behind him and give him even more support than he did before. Because if it turns out to be nothing, then this impeachment proceeding is going to look entirely like a political hit. We can't beat this man. Let's just impeach him and throw whatever we can at him to try to get him out of there. And I don't want Donald Trump to be in there any more than you do. But I don't want the precedent to be set in this country that you just impeach the president instead of going out and trying to beat him legitimately in an election. Because the path that this takes us down is eventually going to be outright violence and civil war. If half this country thinks that their guy who won an election legitimately If half the country thinks that their guy was taken out for purely political reasons, purely because the Democrats didn't want him in there and they trumped up allegations and got him out of there on flimsy pretexts, there's going to be war.
Yep.
All right? There's going to be violence. And this is a bad precedent we're seeing. This is the exact wrong thing Democrats should be trying to do. This is the exact wrong thing to do. What they should do is focus on beating him politically in the 2020 election, which is a year away. We are a year away from the next election. And
I also think that this is just, it's kind of a distraction tactic, because you got absolute idiots like AOC who are just, they're not even letting the mask slip anymore on the agenda. They're just ripping it off and showing the ugly socialist face underneath of it. You got guys like Beto O'Rourke going out there saying that we need to violently confiscate guns. You've got all these idiots to the point where nobody can afford to eat meat anymore because cow farts are destroying the environment. And I think that what Pelosi's doing is just like probably just burning inside behind the scenes, going like, you fucking idiots, shut up. What can we do to take the media attention off of you guys, you know, letting the game plan be known? So she's like, okay, well, you know, what's something that's going to get all the media attention? Boom, impeachment proceedings. They're not going to go anywhere. All of the evidence points to the fact that Trump did nothing wrong by calling the Ukrainian president and saying, hey, here's some possible corruption in your country. You might want to take a look at it. That's not illegal. That's just a chief executive talking to another chief executive about possible political corruption. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think that Pelosi is absolutely desperate right now, because all of the presidential candidates and all of the high-profile Democrats in the House, the squad, the four horsewomen of the apocalypse, are just out there blowing everything up. You got Ilhan Omar marrying her brother. You got AOC being herself. And you got Beta, Elizabeth Warren, and all these idiots out there just throwing everything out there, just trying to out-left each other. And now Pelosi is in a desperate scramble. She's like, well, we just won the House back, and it come 20 again because you fucking morons won't keep. I think that's what the real reason behind it is. Just something to take the heat off of, or take the attention away from the morons in her own party.
I don't know if that's the goal here. It's a really, really bad attempt.
Right. It's just gonna come off as desperate.
It's stupid. It's stupid. And, you know, like I said, I'm going to wait to see if this actually goes anywhere. But I doubt it. I have my doubts. Like I said, they've been throwing shit at they've been showing shit at the wall this entire presidency, and nothing sticks. No. Nothing at all. It all blows up in their faces. It all bounces back right to them, and they always look like absolute fools after it. Speaking of people who look like absolute fools, a fucking Mr. Bill Weld looked like an absolute fool. Well, what did I had his comments right in front of me, and apparently now I don't anymore. So let me try to find that. But yeah, Mr. Bill Weld decided he was gonna jump in on this discussion, and he was gonna fucking say something about the president being put to death because of these accusations. Like, essentially what he said is he came out and said, oh, this is
treason.
This is an act of treason. This is an act of treason, and the punishment for treason is death. Essentially saying that Mr. Trump is going to have to come to some plea deal to avoid getting a lethal injection due to these accusations. First of all, I'm not even sure that this would, without knowing what they're accusing him of saying is, it's a little presumptuous of anybody to be saying that Donald Trump should be executed for something. We don't even know what's in the complaint yet. All right.
Yep.
We know that the accusation is that Donald Trump asked the president of Ukraine to investigate some alleged dirty actions by Joe Biden's son or something like that. That's the accusation. I'm not seeing exactly the treason there. Maybe corruption I can see, but treason?
No.
Giving aid and comfort to America's enemies, unless we're saying here that Ukraine is America's enemies, which in which case, why did the Obama administration send them millions of dollars worth of weapons?
Right, and the entire corruption that Trump was trying to point out to the current Ukrainian president was the fact that Joe Biden was making $8 billion in military aid incumbent on getting a Ukrainian prosecutor fired. So, quid pro quo, aid and comfort.
Sounds like interfering in the democratic process of another country, something that has been Trump has been accused of doing. That's what it sounds like to me. But yeah, the accusation that Bill Weld is throwing at Donald Trump, that he is treasonous and that this constitutes an offense that he could be executed for, is absolute bullshit. Makes no sense whatsoever. There's nothing here to support that. He's speaking out of his ass like he always does.
There
Mr.
is no
Wild
there
Bill
there.
Weld.
More drunk Bill Weld.
Yeah, the man is fucking insufferable. He's becoming more and more so as time goes on. Carl says, unless Ukraine is hiding a Trump Epstein video, I'm not really sold on the death penalty. Oh boy, now that would be something. Does Jeff Epstein hide his pedophile porn stash in fucking Ukraine?
The
bottom of this.
The entire country of Ukraine has evidence which will lead to the arrest of Hillary Clinton.
Oh God, I feel bad for Ukraine. They're all about to get suicided any second now.
Yep.
Those poor bastards. Like being stuck next to Russia wasn't bad enough. I mean, I feel bad for Ukraine. They're just kind of they're the punching bag of Eastern. I read this book a while ago called "A Red Famine" about the Holodomor, where fucking the Soviet Union just absolutely caused an enormous famine in that country and killed millions of people, and communists to this day pretend it didn't happen because communists know better than Nazis. That's a fact. Right. But, obviously. Well, anyway, back to what we were talking about. Yeah, Bill Weld's an idiot. All right. I didn't like the guy when he was in the party. He's become even more insufferable since. Mr. Vouch for Hillary Clinton calls her a trustworthy person who he has disagreements on economically, apparently. Well, good for you. I have disagreements with Hillary Clinton too, but it's more of a moral level and not simply a difference of economics. For one thing, she hands out with pedophiles and sex offenders. That's something she likes to do. She married one, as a matter of fact.
Yeah. Yep, there you go.
So that's Bill Weld. On the other side of the spectrum, a Miss Tulsi Gabbard had the complete opposite take from Mr. Bill Weld. She goes, and I quote, "I believe that impeachment at this juncture would be terribly divisive for the country at a time when we are already extremely divided. The hyperpartisanship is one of the main things driving our country apart." Yes. True story.
Yes, Queen. Slay.
Yes, thank you, Tulsi Gabbard. Like I said, she's not a libertarian, but she does say a lot of good stuff. And out of all the candidates, she's the only halfway sane one, even though she's still a progressive. Ugh. Imagine that. A progressive these days, just a normal progressive, is coming off like the sane person because everyone else is going hard socialist. Yep. But yeah, She comes out and says, "Oh, this impeachment is just going to divide us further. It's just going to draw a bigger wedge between people in this country." And she's right about that. She absolutely is right about that.
Yep, I think that she. Ooh, hi. I think that she is angling for a cabinet position in the 2020 Trump White House.
I don't know about that.
I don't know, man. She's been riding that middle ground, and reaching out to her might be the that bit of a bipartisan reaching across the aisle thing that, I mean, it's not going to matter one whiff to the Democrats, but for those fence-sitting moderates that, you know, are just sick and tired of pure party line partisan hackery, reaching out to a Democrat, not only a Democrat, but one of the 2020 Democratic, presidential candidates for a cabinet position would be seen as, an act of good faith to anyone who isn't just a blind party supporter.
But you know what's going to happen immediately after such a thing. If such a thing happened, you know what would occur. She'd be labeled a white supremacist. The Democratic Party already hates her for her foreign policy and already goes after her mercilessly. Out of all the people running for president, they hate her the most.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Other
they
than
hate her the most.
Bad.
Well, out of the people running for the Democratic nominee right now.
Oh, yeah.
She is getting the Ron Paul treatment. So you know what would happen if Donald Trump were to try to bring her into his cabinet? She would be labeled a white supremacist. She would be attacked viciously. She would not be welcomed in her own party. That's exactly what would happen. She would be an outcast from the Democratic Party, and she would have to be willing to accept that if she were to take a role within the Trump administration. And maybe she would be willing to accept that, considering how shitty they've treated her. But I don't know. She's still a progressive. She still is anti-Trump. So I don't know if she would want to do that. And I don't know if Trump would want to put her there. You know? Maybe, but
might be some of that 4D chess in action. You know, he offers her a position, she takes it. She's the biggest threat from a policy and a likability standpoint to the Republican Party at this point. Tulsi 2024 would be a viable threat to the Republican Party. So by maneuvering her into the most hated orange man bad cabinet, being ostracized to the Democrat Party would effectively neutralize her as a Democrat opposition to the Republican Party in 2024. Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know how big a threat she would honestly pose in 2024, though. I mean, what big grounds do you expect her to make from now till then that would make her a viable threat for the nomination?
Well, the fact that the Democratic Party is self-destructing itself right now, and the only option that they would have in 2024 is get your shit together or die as a major party forever. So
I don't know. I think they keep pushing this progressive line because you can't go back now. They've radicalized entire swaths of the population. I don't know if they can go back. And that might lead to political suicide, but there's always going to be a second party in this country. And there's too many progressives for it not to, and liberals for it not to be a progressive liberal party. You know, they've got to go somewhere, and they're not going to go to the Green Party.
Maybe they'll just finally drop the charade and just roll themselves into the Communist Party.
Well, maybe they'll just give up the whole act and go right for it. It's like, yeah, we were kind of just joking around when we said we weren't communists, but now that we lost, the gloves are off, we're going ham at it. All right, so let's move on to a different topic. I'm going to read you an article. This is out of, you all right over there, buddy? This is out of, yeah, you're moving around. I can hear it, the headphones. All right, so this is from ABC News. I'm just going to read you the article because it's nice and short. It goes, residents in Winchester debating free speech versus hate speech after flyers reading Islam is right about women were found plastered around town. Anita Davidson told 7 News that she was walking her child to school on Wednesday when she saw the concerning flyers stuck to street signs near the town center. Davidson says she was on the other side of the flyers and immediately ripped them down. Political climate at the moment and all the things happening around the world, it just puts a little fear in you, she said. After Davidson brought 2 flyers to the Winchester Police Department, officers went out and found 8 more, including one that was posted outside an elementary school. Some residents say they think the signs refer to the strict laws applied to women. Quote, putting signs up that make people feel uncomfortable is unfortunate, particularly in this time and age, Jim Leary said. Police say the signs were not threatening and considered free speech. They opted to get rid of them because they were placed on town property. Davidson hopes others will do as she did if more signs pop up. Quote, most people have been supportive of the decision to take them down, she said. Others have said that I'm not for free speech, but I really am. I just feel like that was on the side of hate speech. No one has come forward to explain the meaning behind the message. Now, that's the funny thing about that last line really gets me. I just feel like that was on the side of hate speech. How? Explain to me in detail. I want to know why you think that's on the side of hate speech.
It's so crazy because they're like, nobody's come forward to explain the meaning of the flyers, but everybody that sees them is sure that it's something negative.
Oh my God. Here's a funny thing. Normally when you say X is right about Y, that's a positive thing. They go, they're right, guys. They're right. They have the right ideas. But this sign, it says Islam is right about women, and everyone assumes it's bad.
Right.
Now, why would you think that? See, I love this. I absolutely love this. It's from the creators of It's Okay to Be White, because it reveals the subconscious hypocrisy in the minds of today's NPCs and progressives. Like they apparently can't understand why this sign is bad. They just know it is.
Right.
But nobody can articulate why.
Yep, and if you're watching, not instead of just listening, Ben just pulled up the thumbnail image from a very good video by Black Pigeon Speaks on YouTube, talking about why this is just like It's Okay to Be White. This is such a powerful and simple troll move because on the one hand, and according to the video, on the one hand, if you're saying that Islam is right about women, you're either admitting that Islam is a sexist and repressive religion that treats women like second-class citizens, or you're saying that Islam provides the healthy structure that the female gender so obviously needs due to their emotional nature. You can't hold both of these views at the same time, so it just breaks the programming. And there, yeah, it says Islam good, women good, Islam good, women good, Islam is right about women, and the program breaks down. It's beautiful.
Yeah, here would be the proper response from NPCs and progressives. Oh yeah, that looks about right. Cool, and then go about your day. That's the response from their rhetoric that you would expect to hear. You know, it's like, if they really believe that Islam is a liberating religion, that it is pro-woman, that it is a feminist religion, as I've heard people say, if they really believe that, then the statement Islam is right about women would be right up their wheelhouse. They would agree with it. Like, yeah, that's right. But no, they immediately assume it's saying something bad. But why is it saying something bad? I must have watched like 5 different people asked about this, and none of them could explain why the sign had a negative message. They just knew that it did.
Right, because it even the most diehard, dyed-in-the-wool progressive that holds these contradictory views normally in their head throughout their day-to-day life, when confronted with it and they're forced to take that split second to wait a minute, even in their subconscious, they may not want to admit it to themselves or to anyone else, but it does trigger in your subconscious mind that one of these things must be true. They can't both be true at the same time. And that causes it's cognitive dissonance. It's a breakdown in the matrix.
Yeah, and all these people, they know they know deep down they would never want to live in any of these Islamic countries. You wouldn't want to live in Iran. You wouldn't want to live in Saudi Arabia. You wouldn't want to live in Afghanistan or Pakistan. You wouldn't want to live in these countries that are ruled by religious theocratic laws.
Right.
You wouldn't want to live under a theocracy if it was Christian. You don't want to live under a theocracy if the religion is Islam either.
Right, exactly. It blows my mind. These are typically the people that'll take every opportunity they can to take a dump on Christianity, but as soon as it's that exotic brown people religion from the countries that we bomb, then it's A-okay, and we have to make apologies for it or something like that. I see this shitty meme pop up every now and again that shows a Mennonite and a nun and a Greek Orthodox. They all have some type of headgear that they wear, and the Jews have a little yarmulke and all that. What is the difference between this and a woman in a hijab? And I just have to say, a nun or a Jew or a Mennonite or a Greek Orthodox woman doesn't get fucking stoned to death if they take theirs off. That's the difference.
It's a pretty big difference, I would say.
Yeah.
It's a pretty big difference. I've never heard of a nun in modern times being forced into a nunnery. I mean, it used to happen, but it doesn't happen anymore. If you're a nun, you chose to join. Right. You made that choice yourself. No Greek Orthodox woman is forced to walk around with headpieces on, right? Oh. With a headdress. No one's forcing you to do that. You go to some of these Islamic countries, they do. You go to going to Saudi Arabia or Afghanistan and doing that.
Even
it's not pretty.
Even in Western countries that don't have the force of law behind it, if an Islamic woman from a traditional conservative Islamic family goes without their hijab on or something, when they get home, they're going to get the shit kicked out of them. So
yeah, there's a lot of traditional people who follow Islam and are very strict in the ways they treat women, and it's gross. It is definitely misogynistic and sexist. It's horrible, but for some reason, modern progressivism has married that to feminism, and it makes absolutely no sense. It's a contradiction in terms, and it leads to these mental breaks where someone says Islam is right about women, and they know what that means. They know what it means. Because what Islam teaches about women is that they are lesser people. All right. In Islamic law, it requires when you have witnesses for a crime, you need 2 women and only 1 man. All right.
Yep.
In Saudi Arabia, women are not allowed to leave the house without being escorted by a male family member. They
Right.
can't drive. They have to wear a hijab. Right? When the saying that Islam is right about women is to say that women are second-class citizens, and that does not jive with, our Western views of all people are created equal, and there's no such thing as a second-class person. Regardless of what sex you are, we are all equal under the law. You don't need, two women to bear witness against one man. All right? We're all supposed to be equal here. And that is the standard. That is the standard that we strive for here. All right? We don't strive for the standard of holding women down. That is not what we're trying. That's not what we try to do. That is the active goal of a lot of laws in Islamic countries. And when people look at these signs that say Islam is right about women, they instinctively know exactly what Islam has to say about women, and they don't like that. They don't like what Islam has to say about women in their countries. We don't like what Islamic countries do to women in their countries. But you're not allowed to say that because it makes you an Islamophobe and it puts you on the wrong side of the woke scolds. And they will come after you and they will take you down. So you have to pretend to not know what these signs are talking about. It's hilarious, dude. It's a whole thing. It's quite crazy, and I'm just it makes me happy to know that there are woke scolds out there who are having their minds exploded because because they don't have the ability to hold two views at once and confront them. It's beautiful. I love it.
Speaking of woke scolds, are we going to talk about our favorite woke scold from the Great White North?
Oh my God. So much stuff happened this week that I completely forgot to put that in the notes. Let's fucking do this. All right. Justin Trudeau, everyone's favorite woke scold from Canada. I wasn't even going to do this. I completely forgot about it. Mr. Justin Trudeau, a man who once corrected somebody asking him a question and told her to say people kind instead of mankind. That fucking guy, turns out that he has a bad habit of, I gotta put that away a little bit. Turns out that this guy has a bad fucking, oh, Ben, you slay me. Ben just pulled up a picture of Justin Trudeau. It turns out Mr. Justin Trudeau has a bad habit of wanting to dress up as minorities. And one of the things he likes to do is dress up in blackface. Yes, you heard blackface. You know that thing that is supposed to be incredibly racist and insensitive and makes you a bigot? That stuff? Yeah, Mr. Justin Trudeau, woke scold champion of the world,
is
current the filthy, dirty racist. Apparently.
Mr. It's current year. That was him that was the genesis of the current year phenomenon.
Oh, God, I hate that dude. Everything about Justin Trudeau is slimy and smug and self-important, and I hate him. I hate everything about that sick son of a bitch.
He's a bastard son of a communist dictator, so...
Yeah, he's Castro's son. Everybody knows that.
Except him, I guess.
There's a conspiracy going around that Castro isn't his father, but no one's going to believe that. Have you seen the pictures? They're pretty convincing.
Yeah.
Oh, Ben, you slay me. Ben keeps pulling up pictures of Justin Trudeau in various different costumes, and it is glorious, and I love it. So, yeah, he's been busted for wearing blackface on 3 different occasions.
Yep.
3. And he apologized for it, and apparently it's okay now.
Yeah. Because
that's all you got to do.
Because it's him.
Because it's him. Because he's a progressive leftist. Because the standards don't apply to him. Because he is the woke skull. See, if he were just some guy just some random dude. He'd be a Nazi, a white supremacist. He would have Antifa calling for his job. He'd be fired from wherever he worked. He'd be doxxed. He'd be having death threats thrown at him. But because he's Justin Trudeau, the son of a communist, he gets to avoid all the repercussions that would come to us mere mortals. No, he gets to avoid all that.
Yep.
Good for him. It's always funny how progressives and Democrats and woke scolds of a higher profile tend to get away with this sort of stuff that anybody else would be absolutely ruined for.
On the plus side, this, in addition to a lot of the financial scandals that I haven't really been following that closely, but I know that there's a lot of like pay for play stuff going on in Alberta with some of the companies that he's connected with. All of these little things are starting to add up, and it's looking like this next election he might be on the way out.
And if I never have to hear this swarmy individual speak again, that would be awesome. I don't want to ever hear from this human being. All right? He is so smug and self-important and self-righteous to the point of insufferability. Just get him out of here. I'm sick and tired of hearing from this douchebag anymore. So that's all I have to say about that. Do you have anything else you want to mention about this dude?
No.
No.
We had some good memes, so if you haven't seen them, you need to go check them out.
Oh, yeah, there was a few good memes up on our Facebook page. So, yeah, go in there and check that out. But here's a story that I wanted to talk about today. It ties into the Second Amendment. It's a story about a woman from Arkansas who was pregnant, who had her apartment broken into, who was thrown to the ground, repeatedly punched in the face, had a rag with chemicals on it thrust into her face. It's a story about this woman breaking free from her assailer, retrieving a gun, shooting this man, having the shooting deemed justified, and then being arrested. You want to take a guess as to why this woman was arrested?
I haven't had a chance to take a look at the notes, and I haven't heard about this story, surprisingly, but I am going to let's see. Was she under 21?
Nope. Not under 21. Good guess, though.
Was there perhaps some type of drug paraphernalia in the house?
This is a very close, but not quite.
Was she a prohibited person due to a prior drug conviction?
Bingo!
There we go.
I think it was. Let me look at my notes real quick. But I believe it was. Yep, back in 2016, she had been arrested for possession of marijuana. She was in a car with several other people. The car was pulled over. The cops found marijuana, as they do. And since no one fessed up to owning the drugs, everybody got arrested for drug possession. And everybody was convicted for it. And she got a 5-year suspended sentence. 5-year suspended sentence. And part of her parole, because she had to go on parole, was that she not possess firearms. And in her apartment, her husband owned firearms. So when she was attacked by a stranger, almost knocked unconscious and punched repeatedly in the face, she did what anybody would do and retrieved that firearm and shot this man dead. And because she was once in the general vicinity of marijuana, she is now a criminal in the state of Arkansas.
Proving once again that the goddamn devil's lettuce just ruins lives.
Oh my God, that devil's lettuce. We got to do more to fight the marijuana.
I know, right?
Drugs are bad, okay? And if you do drugs, then you're bad, okay? Because drugs are bad, okay?
It's absolutely ridiculous. And any judge that this case comes across their desk should immediately throw it out.
All
And
right,
if some judge doesn't throw it out immediately, then jury nullification. That's all there is to it.
all right, so I'm going to read you a little bit from the article because there are a few more facts to go along with this, none of which make this case any better, by the way, just throwing that out there. So from the article, a pregnant woman who shot and killed an intruder who attacked her in her Arkansas home is facing felony gun possession charges, even though authorities ruled that the shooting was justified due to a prior marijuana conviction. On the afternoon of December 7th, Fort Worth resident Chrissy Noble, 21, shot and killed Dylan Stankoff when he attacked her in her apartment, according to a press release from the Sebastian County Prosecutor's Office. Noble was 11 weeks pregnant at the time, according to the police report from the Fort Smith Police Department. Now, Chrissy, she was alone in her apartment when she was attacked. She broke free and she killed the individual because of the felony marijuana charge from 2017. She is now being charged with felony possession of a firearm. On February 1st, 2017, Noble had pleaded guilty to felony possession of marijuana with purpose to deliver and felony possession of drug paraphernalia, and was given a 5-year suspended sentence that included a condition that she not possess or use any firearms. The incident occurred in 2016. ABC Fort Smith affiliate KHBS reported. Noble told the station that she was in the car with other people when police found drugs inside the car, but no one claimed them, so everyone in the car received the same charges. So, yeah, basically, back in 2016, 3 years ago, right, she was in the general vicinity of marijuana. And being close to marijuana apparently means you lose your Second Amendment rights. Not only you lose your Second Amendment rights, but you lose the right to defend yourself from a violent attack and possible rape.
Yep.
You lose that right because of marijuana. The fucking drug war did this. This event happened 9 months before the warrant for her arrest was issued. 9 months passed. She has her baby now. She's a mother now. And now that she has a baby, the state comes in, issues a warrant for her arrest, and wants to put this woman in jail. And she faces up to a 5-year jail term for defending herself from a violent attacker.
It's ridiculous. Absolutely shameful.
Yeah, this is the sort of thing that people throw out there as common sense gun laws, right? Felons should not be allowed to have guns, right? That's the thing. But then you realize that being in the general vicinity of marijuana makes you a felon. And now for the rest of your life, you're not allowed to defend yourself from attackers, even when it's deemed a justified shooting. This dude broke into her home. This dude attacked her, threw her to the ground, and punched her in the face repeatedly, held a rag to her face that smelled of chemicals. Who the hell knows what he had planned to do if he had knocked her out? And she fought him. She fought back, and she retrieved a gun, and she shot him dead, as he deserved to be.
Nothing of value was lost.
Nothing of value was lost at all. And for this heroic act of hers, defending herself and her unborn baby boy, for doing that, she is now a criminal, and she faces 5 years in jail. Her son could be 5 years old before she's out of prison. That's justice in the USA. That's justice in the land of the free. That's common sense gun laws in America.
Yep, shameful. Like I said earlier, man, this is a job for either a judge to see the facts of this case and be like, get the shit out of here, or jury nullification if there's not a good judge willing to nip this one in the bud.
It's shameful, man. This is absolutely shameful. It's a travesty of justice. This woman did nothing wrong, either in this instance or back in 2016 where she was close to marijuana. Now, I don't care if she had 20 blunts sticking out of her mouth, had marijuana stuffed in her ears. I don't give a shit about any of that. There is nothing wrong with smoking marijuana. There's nothing morally wrong with it. There should be nothing legally wrong with it. But because we have an overbearing police state that tries to decide what people can and can't do with their own bodies when they're not affecting anybody else, because we have that, this woman was faced with 5 years in prison. And she lost her Second Amendment rights. And because of that, she's supposed to supposedly just sit by meekly as she is brutalized and raped. Apparently, that is what she was supposed to do in this situation. Because God knows she's not allowed to defend herself because she's a felon. A dangerous menace to society for the crime of being close to marijuana. Not even smoking it, not even being high, being close to it. That is her crime. It's absolutely sickening.
Yep.
So I think we're running up on an hour right now.
About 5 minutes left. What? We got any more stories?
Not really. That's about all I wanted to talk about. I wasn't even talking about.
Yeah, Ben just put up there Facebook's not a platform according to one of their own legal dispositions. The killings continue in Afghanistan. A drone strike took out like 30 pine nut harvesters.
Yeah, a drone strike just took out a wedding. Actually, I got that article pulled up right now. It goes, joint U.S.-Afghan strike kills 40 civilians at wedding. This was from the 23rd, so just yesterday. This is from antiwar.com. It goes, for the second time in a week, a U.S. military operation in Afghanistan has ended with a large number of civilians dead, and U.S. officials offering very dubious arguments as to why it wasn't their fault. A Sunday night attack saw U.S. and Afghan commandos raid a house in Helmand province and ultimately launch airstrikes. The attack killed at least 40 civilians, including a number of children. Instead of the Taliban building they thought they were raiding, it turns out the airstrike pounded an ongoing wedding reception. The Afghan government has already admitted to what happened, saying they are saddened by the deaths and want to take extra caution in the future. Because the U.S. is on one of those kicks where we don't take responsibility for anything, the U.S. statement confirmed the airstrikes but denied killing civilians. They claimed the attacks targeted al-Qaeda and suggested any civilians died from al-Qaeda weapons and not from U.S. dropping bombs on them. Really fucking horrible stuff. The wars in Afghanistan continue on, and we can continue slaughtering civilians without hesitation and without remorse and without even admitting to it.
Right. So, like, one, what in the hell is with drones and weddings? This is a trope. This is a meme by now. U.S. drone strike blows up a wedding. I mean, how many times has this happened? And two, I love how they call dropping a bomb out of the sky a raid. No, a raid is when you have guys with guns going in to secure an area and, capture someone or capture some supplies or something like that. Just dropping a bomb out of the sky is not a raid. It's a bombing. Plain and simple.
Absolutely.
And three, it's like, you killed a whole bunch of people, including a bunch of children. Congratulations, you just minted a fresh new crop of terrorists, you dummies.
You see, this is why victory in Afghanistan is never going to happen. Right? Because we got all this technology. We got all this advanced technology at our fingertips, and we fucking murder civilians with it. We bomb wedding receptions. We murdered people's kids and refuse to take responsibility for it, refuse to say that we are in any way, shape, or form guilty of anything here. Like, can we just end this war already? Can't we just bring the troops home and stop pretending we're doing anything good or beneficial? It's It's hopeless in Afghanistan. This thing is never going to be won. Just declare victory and come home. All right,
Well,
stop fighting civilians, stop killing kids, stop destroying weddings, and bring the goddamn troops home.
At this point, they don't even have to declare victory. I don't even care because this really isn't a victory. Like, they could just, instead of George W. Bush's big victory declared or whatever banner that he had up on that aircraft carrier when he had that little photo op, I would settle for a big banner that said, well, that was a colossal fuck around. Sorry. Not victory, or or maybe just like the word victory with a question mark behind it, and everybody just kind of shrugs.
Yeah, just let Trump. So here's the thing: let Trump walk away with the thinking that he won. Just do that. Just do that. I don't care. Let him take credit for ending the war. I don't give a shit. Just bring the troops home already. End this stupid war already. There's no point to us being there anymore. The Taliban controls more ground in Afghanistan than they did before we invaded. All right,
Right.
they already won. We're just bombing random civilians at this point.
Yep.
And that's all I got to say about that story. So yeah, we filled up our 5 minutes pretty well with that one. Thank you, Ben, for reminding me about our government murdering civilians overseas, because we here living with our first world privilege forget about the third world people being murdered by our first world military. We
Yep.
forget about it, and that's on us. Thank you, Ben, for not letting us forget that. So we're going to end it there. We're going to say good night, and we're going to say, remember, everybody, wait for the facts on this Trump stuff before jumping to conclusions. Wait, because you're just going to get burned if you don't. All right, so remember, like our Facebook page. We just passed 7,000 likes on to 8,000. I say I want 10,000 by the end of the year. So go to our Facebook page, like that. We're on Instagram, we're on Twitter, we're on Minds, we're on YouTube, we're everywhere you get your podcast from. All right, I just had an interview with TJ Roberts yesterday about Meghan McCain being blasted by Pamela Anderson, of all people. That was fun. And then next week, I'm having Dr. Kyle Varner on again. And this time we're going to talk about the vaping hysteria and prohibition in general, because that's a story that's been going on that we haven't talked about, specifically because I'm saving it for next week. So if you got questions there, go ahead and watch our episode with Dr. Kyle Varner. All right, you got anything left to say, Hobbs, before we call it a night?
A couple of things. I think that this Friday I am going to try and do my own little quick solo show like you and Ben have. Friday, maybe around 8 or 9 Central Time. I'm calling it Hobservations. Nice little play on words there, hopefully. I have an idea of what I want to do it about, but I'll have to see if I can dig up some props to make the episode worthwhile. So stay tuned. Maybe that'll happen. Maybe I'll get lazy and it won't. And the other thing is that there is currently a petition on whitehouse.gov to annex the moon as the 51st state.
If we annex the moon as a state, it would be entitled to more representation than there are currently people on the moon.
Yes.
It would be entitled to 2 senators and a congressman.
Yes.
And it would get 3 electoral votes. And nobody lives there. That is glorious.
Right. So go check that one out. I'm all down for Project 51st State, annexing the moon.
That's glorious. Let's just do that. That would be awesome.
Since the Greenland deal fell through, I mean, we might as well, right?
Might as well get on that right now before those dirty chai comms jump in there.
There's the 2 senators from the moon.
Oh God. Okay, we're done. We're done, everybody. Remember, like us on Facebook and Twitter and Minds and Instagram and all those fun places. And remember, Stay sane, because the world will not do it for you.